One Piece is the story of Luffy and his adventures. And the narrative of this story recently changed in a very big way. We are gonna talk about how and why One Piece changed its narrative completely, how this affects Luffy, and how we have seen this exact same thing already happen in other very big anime and manga stories. So to talk about Luffy, we also have to talk about the story. In the beginning of One Piece, the story we read was completely different to what is right now, in many ways. But what I want to focus on is the foundation of the story, the very groundwork that is always tied to the main character. The story of One Piece, the story of Luffy, is about one kid that goes on a grand adventure, defying all odds and trying to achieve a ridiculous goal. In this case, this goal is becoming the king of the pirates. The only thing we get told in the beginning of the story that makes the main character have any kind of advantage is the fact that he gained a devil fruit power. Gaining such a power is considered very rare in One Piece, but his power pales in comparison to most other devil fruits. We are told that the power from his fruit is turning him into rubber, which is considered a weak fruit and power, only made great by the creativity and skill of the main character. Luffy is the clear underdog in this world for at least 314 episodes, or 432 chapters in the manga, until his father and grandfather were revealed. This is the first time that this perspective of this insignificant young boy chasing a big dream changed, because Luffy's grandfather and father are both known worldwide for being powerhouses, and so the fanbase also speculated that Luffy's power is tied to his bloodline, making him a great fighter. But even after this new information, the story still stayed relatively the same. Luffy was still considered to be the same hot-headed kid going on an adventure with an uncertain outcome, and being related to strong characters would not change his struggle. He did not even know his father and barely was taught by his strong grandfather. This narrative was completely spun on its head in chapter 1044, so pretty recently, when we learned about what Luffy's devil fruit actually is. It was revealed he has not in fact consumed the pretty useless Gum Gum no Mi, which only turns him into rubber. No, he ate the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, making the protagonist the heir of the ancient deity called the Sun God, gaining him new abilities that are referred to as the most ridiculous power in the world. Additionally to this information, it was heavily implied that the ancient hero Joy Boy that lived 800 years ago also seems to have had the very same power, connecting our protagonist to two immensely powerful people in the story. At the moment of this reveal, Luffy changed from a young man with all odds turned against him and nothing on his side but a dream, to a heavenly figure with great power, always tied to the strings of fate and the history of this world. Before I want to discuss this further, I want to mention something important when we try to analyze One Piece as this grand story that it is. There are two very common tropes in storytelling, not just manga or anime, that are known as the hero's journey and the chosen one. The chance of you never having heard of either of them is very low. They appear in so many works of fiction, going back to very old tales, but they are also present even in the most well-known stories from today's time, like Star Wars, Matrix, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Hunger Games, King Arthur, Lord of the Rings, just to name a few, but there are endless examples. The Chosen One, also known as the One or the Chosen, is a narrative trope where one character, usually the protagonist, is framed as the inevitable hero or anti-hero of the story, as a result of destiny, unique gifts, or special lineage, which is 100% fitting to the story of One Piece right now. Destiny is a reoccurring theme in One Piece that is mentioned quite often. Destiny and even lineage seems to be one of the biggest aspects of One Piece as a story, because the will of D is an integral part to the story. A lot of the most important characters in the story carry the will of D, and we get reminded of its importance on numerous occasions. And not just that, but even the hero's journey has striking similarities with One Piece nowadays. There are multiple acts in the hero's journey, and Luffy's journey mirrors all of them till now. He starts with the call to adventure and to become the Pirate King, and then going through every next step of the storytelling trope, even though what exactly each step was is up for interpretation. And recently we have passed the most important part of the hero's journey, death and rebirth, which happened in chapter 1043, when Kaido strikes down Luffy and is announced the winner. Luffy is seemingly pronounced dead, only for his heart to start beating again because of some ancient power awakening in him, making him come back in his most powerful form, achieving Gear 5. But back to the character of Luffy. How does this change Luffy? Obviously, this is a very big change in narrative, but Luffy's character did not change since this happened. which is very important, because Luffy was never a character that was interested in great power for ruling over anything. He uses his power for his friend's sake, and he would never see himself as a god now that he has this power. It would just be out of character for Luffy, but this was handled correctly till now. So when saying Luffy is not Luffy anymore, I do not mean that the author, Eiichiro Oda, butchered his character. No, he stayed quite consistent over this long time that the series is already running. But what I want to say is that such a sudden change has an immense impact on the story. Changing your main character in such a way is not a small change you would just implement on the fly. This has had to be planned since a pretty long time. I also want to compare this to another extremely well-known work of fiction in the manga genre, because handling the situation will not be easy. In fact, in Naruto Shippuden, spoiler alert, the main character undergoes a very similar change. Naruto goes from a nobody that was not a very talented shinobi in the beginning of the story to someone who is the son of one of the strongest ninja of all time, while having unparalleled power sealed in his body in the form of a tailed beast, as well as being the literal reincarnation of a godlike alien creature named Ashura. This changed Naruto forever. Not just the narrative, but also the fighting style of the series, and to some extent even the character of the protagonist Naruto Uzumaki. Most people agree that even though Naruto is a great manga and anime, towards the end of Shippuden there were a lot of at least questionable plot points that for some people even ruined the end of the series. When you have such a long-running franchise and you try to top everything you have done previously, getting lost in too many plot points can be easy, turning them into plot holes with not enough build-up and explanation. What I fear for is that this change of Luffy, and therefore of the main narrative of the story, could lead to a similar problematic situation. I have great trust in Oda, so I'm not against this recent change, but analyzing who Luffy was in the East Blue and right now is an incredible change. This video title is a little bit untrue, of course, because yes, Luffy did change quite a lot. He went from a young adult, acting childish and irrationally, to a man who learned a lot since the start of his journey, who went through a lot of meaningful character development. But Luffy is still the same character. He's brilliantly written and we know what to expect from his character. His behavior is consistent throughout the story. This is not what I wanted to talk about in this video though. People believe Luffy has changed after the retcon of his Devil Fruit, when in fact it is more the story of One Piece that has changed. It does impact Luffy in a major way, but it all depends on the author, Oda now, how he's going to handle this giant change he implemented to the narrative of One Piece. And with that, I want to thank you guys for listening, and if you enjoyed, I would be very happy when you like this video and subscribe to the channel, so you don't miss the next discussion we are gonna have very soon. Peace!